Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well and are having a flare-free day. Thanks so much for coming to my channel. So I don't know about you, but in conversations with friends or even with doctors, you hear the statement, oh, my periods are so painful, or you're just one of the unlucky ones who has a painful period. It's never really talked about further on what's defined as a painful period, the causes of painful periods, how there are ways to treat that pain naturally at home. So in today's video, I wanted to define what painful periods are and just have a friend-to-friend chat around all things painful periods. First and foremost, I want to say that if you have any pain, discomfort, new or recurring symptoms around your period, definitely go check it out with a doctor, as they are the experts and can provide support and resources for you. Additionally, if you have painful periods, I want you to know that you are not alone. Approximately half of people who menstruate or have a period experience some dull, aching discomfort during the time of their period from 1 to 2 days. But if you are one of the ones who has more intensified pain that's excruciating, know that I am with you. I am in that bucket with you. We are teammates together in it, and there are so many others that experience painful periods. But I think we're getting a little bit better about opening up and talking about it, but just know that it may seem like you're alone in the experience, but you are not. So I just want to kind of remind you that you are so strong and so amazing, and we're in it together. So the first thing I want to talk about is we might hear this term called dysmenorrhea, and it's a huge medical term to just describe painful periods. So there are two different types of dysmenorrhea. There's primary dysmenorrhea and secondary dysmenorrhea. Primary dysmenorrhea is typically felt a little bit before or during the time of your period. Some individuals feel that pain for 1 to 3 days, but typically the pain is getting a little bit better as the period progresses. The pain is directly associated with your period, and it typically means that there's nothing wrong with the pelvic organs, meaning that everything is working a-okay, but there's still that type of dull, aching, cramping type of feeling due to the start of your period. The symptoms associated with this type of primary dysmenorrhea or primary period pain is a little bit of nausea that might take place, dizziness, tiredness or fatigue, again, that dull, aching, cramping type of feeling, but you're still able to do the things that you want to do. You can still walk, you can still eat, but there's still that type of dull aching that kind of signifies your period starting. You can also have referred pain, meaning that you feel pain in other areas of your body that are outside of the source of that pain, meaning that your uterus is that area where that pain is beginning, but you might feel a little bit of pain in your thigh. You can also feel a little bit of pain in your lower back, as well as diarrhea. So these are some symptoms of primary dysmenorrhea that might take place. Now you might be wondering, if everything is a-okay in that pelvic region, then why am I feeling pain in the first place? Great question. So there's a chemical, totally natural in the body that occurs during the time of your period called prostaglandins. Prostaglandins can cause the muscles and blood vessels within the uterus to contract. At the first day of your period, prostaglandins are skyrocketed high. And as bleeding continues and the lining begins to shed, the level starts to go down. That's why the pain associated with your period tends to be a little bit less when you're on your day 3 or 4 of your cycle when compared to day 1. I also want to stress that everyone's pain threshold is different. Just keep that in mind too, that when you hear somebody going through painful periods, don't pass any judgment. This is their experience and lived experience. And if they are experiencing pain, it is real. And so just keep that in mind, that everyone's body is unique and different and beautiful. Another reason associated with additional pain or discomfort or cramping during primary dysmenorrhea is heavy bleeding. Sometimes with that heavy bleeding, there can be clots that are passed, meaning that there's just a thicker bit of that uterine lining that's being shed, and it can be a little bit painful to pass. Some individuals may have no pain or no discomfort when it comes to their period, and that's beautiful and wonderful, and some people may not. I do want to highlight that there are some factors that may cause you to experience that primary dysmenorrhea, so that dull, aching type of period pain. If you are starting your period before the age of 12, it can signify that you might experience that pain and discomfort. For myself, I was almost 11. I started my period very early. I was in my 10s. Kind of a traumatic story when I started it at canoe camp of all places, but that's for another time where I share that story. But yeah, people who start before the age of 12 are typically at a higher risk factor to have that primary dysmenorrhea. Having individuals in your family who also experience painful periods can be a risk factor for yourself. If you suffer from prolonged bleeding, so longer than 7 to 8 days, or you have heavy bleeding, meaning that you're bleeding through your pads or tampons or menstrual cups over a short period of time, then that could signal that you might experience a higher rate of the primary dysmenorrhea. Secondary dysmenorrhea, or secondary painful periods, it's period pain that's typically caused by an external factor. So a chronic condition, a chronic disorder, an illness, a polyp, a cyst, scar tissue, external factors that are impacting the reproductive organs or other organs in that pelvic zone. You also might experience pain or discomfort with secondary dysmenorrhea outside of the time of your period. So you're nowhere near the time of when you should be bleeding, but you have excruciating abdominal pain or discomfort or that type of cramping feeling in your upper thighs. And it definitely gets worse during the time of your period. So the pain might be super intense during the start of your period, and you may not see relief as your period continues. You might experience additional pains or discomfort. It might get worse or better depending on the individual, and it may not go away after your period ends, unfortunately. You might feel bloating or heaviness within the pelvic region. You might feel extreme fatigue, so even if you take a nap and you wake up, you still feel tired. You can also experience IBS symptoms, or irritable bowel syndrome symptoms, which no one really wants to talk about out loud, of like, are you having painful urination or painful poops? You can also experience that leg pain that can radiate from your thighs down to your toes. Hip pain can happen, that lower back pain. For some individuals with conditions that have painful periods as a symptom, you might also experience some shoulder pain or chest pain during the time of your period, which can definitely signal that you need to talk to your doctor, because it could be something more. So there are some causes of secondary dysmenorrhea that I'll talk about in today's video, but this is not an exhaustive list whatsoever, and I don't want to exclude your pain or experience or health conditions. So please know that this video is not extensive on this list, but it just gives you an idea of what could be causing that secondary type of period pain that you might be experiencing. Again, any new, changing, or recurring pains, or you're experiencing this type of secondary painful period where it's excruciating, you're not able to do the things that you want to do, you're stuck in bed, or you're not able to move, these are reasons to definitely go talk to your doctor. Endometriosis, something that I live with, a full body condition that impacts 1 in 10 individuals around the world. It definitely needs to be talked about more and have more awareness around it. It's basically when tissue that is similar to the lining of the uterus, not the same tissue, but very similar to that lining of the uterus, it grows outside of the uterus. It can grow on every organ in the human body, and it can definitely be a cause of that secondary dysmenorrhea. Fibroids can also be causing that secondary dysmenorrhea type of pain. Adenomyosis is also a condition that can cause secondary dysmenorrhea. Kind of like a cousin to endometriosis. They are very similar when it comes to symptoms of the disease, but adenomyosis is when the tissue that lines the uterus grows within the muscular wall of the uterus. Crohn's disease can also be a secondary dysmenorrhea factor. Cysts can also be an obstruction that can impact the period pain that we experience, and urinary disorders. Should you tell your doctor about painful periods? Absolutely yes. You can track your symptoms during your menstrual cycle. So if you're noticing during your period that, oh, I have this like heavy bleeding and I'm bleeding through my pads, or I'm having this weird leg pain, this is definitely something to note and bring up with your doctor at your next visit. If needed, they can do a pelvic exam, or they might refer you to a specialist specifically for endometriosis or adenomyosis to investigate further if your symptoms are matching with that chronic condition or disease. There are different types of tests that can be used to figure out the source of this dysmenorrhea or painful period. Again, a history of pain can be used to help the doctor diagnose what's going on. Ultrasounds can be used to see if there's cysts or polyps involved. In some cases, a laparoscopic surgery may be suggested as well. Again, if you are opting for surgery, just a little disclaimer that there are risks associated with surgery as well, and to make an informed decision that works for you and your body and your health journey. Don't feel pressured to do anything that you're not ready to do. Always ask for additional resources and education to really be up on everything that you need to know about that type of surgery, and just make sure that you're making a decision that works for you. So when it comes to finding ways to alleviate that pain or discomfort at home, it depends again on the primary versus secondary type of dysmenorrhea that you're experiencing. When it comes to primary dysmenorrhea, so again, that pain just associated with the period itself, Changing your physical position, so moving from your side to another side might support that type of pain. Also lying in child's pose or just putting your belly on the bed and kind of putting your head side to side can be a different type of position that your body craves. With my endometriosis, I always opt for like a curled ball position. I find if I'm super stretched out, it just makes it worse because I feel like I'm stretching extra adhesions or scar tissue. So when I'm curled up in a ball, it actually just feels a little bit more comforting, weirdly to me. I don't know if you're the same, if you have endo or adenomyosis, but definitely a curled ball position is what your girl M opts for every time there's a flare. Heat therapy is definitely something that has worked wonders for a natural at-home remedy for my endometriosis. I know that people with painful periods at the beginning of their first day, they opt for like a hot water bottle or a heating pack on their lower pelvic region or at their lower back. This can really help soothe the body from the outside in. Just a warning that sometimes heat packs can get extremely hot, so make sure that you have a layer between your skin and the actual hot water bottle that you're using, just so that you don't cause additional pain or discomfort caused by potential burns that might take place. Hydrating, so drinking lots of water, can really help alleviate some pain or discomfort that you're experiencing with the period pain. Light movement. Now, I'm not saying take on a full spin class or run, especially if you're like unable to move your body generally because of endometriosis or another condition, but light exercise like yoga or gentle stretching can definitely help support the body feeling a little bit better for some individuals. So again, it's kind of a trial and error when it comes to exercise, but some individuals do find relief with period pain if they move their body gently and in a loving manner. There's no pressure to compete against yourself during your period, just light movements that support you during that time. Medical options do exist as well if you're kind of leaning away from the natural side of treating your period pain, or you're just not able to get past the period pain on your own. So again, talk to your doctor before starting any medication or changing medication, as it could impact other meds that you're on. But there is a type of drug known as non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. NSAIDs basically is the short form for that. They typically work for 60 to 90% of individuals that have that period pain. Those prostaglandin chemicals, like I've mentioned before, the NSAIDs can be really effective in bringing that level down, basically reducing the level of pain that we feel during the period. Those individuals with any bleeding disorders, asthma, an aspirin allergy, liver damage, stomach disorders, or ulcers should not take NSAIDs without consulting a doctor first. Alternative treatments for painful periods can also be acupuncture. I remember doing acupuncture one time when my medical insurance covered it, and it was a life-changing experience. It was very interesting, and I found that it was, well, my pain is all gone, especially in my lower back. I also did pelvic floor therapy for a little bit. It was an interesting experience. I don't know if anyone else has done pelvic floor therapy, but there was definitely some exercises that were given to me to kind of strengthen the pelvic floor and to support my painful periods and my endometriosis more generally. Some individuals also state that magnesium supplements or a rub-on magnesium can support painful periods. So I hope this video has been a little bit helpful and informative around painful periods and how they can be diagnosed into two different categories. Again, if you have any pain or discomfort, please talk to your doctor and know that I am with you 100% of the way. Your body is important and you deserve the answers to the pain that you're experiencing. I waited 11 plus years to receive a name to my pain, which is like crazy when I think about it. But endometriosis, it takes so long to finally receive a name to our pain, and I would just hate for you to wait that long. I just want to highlight too that sometimes, even though we talk about painful periods and they're seemingly common, sometimes the pain associated is not normal. Definitely get answers to support your body, your wellness, and your overall health. Can't wait to talk to you on the next one.